Welcome in, week 12 and Thanksgiving week edition of the WATD Fantasy Draft. Excited to get after it this week. Quinn, Johnny, and Brendan with you, and it should be a fun one. We reopen the boards. We're going to go through eligibility for this week's draft in just a couple of minutes, but we got two left of these, and we are at one of the best days in the high school football calendar, and Thanksgiving. A couple of teams have been off for a couple of weeks. Almost most teams have been off for a couple of weeks, and now come back raring to go. And we've got a full complement of stars to get going with this one. So looking forward to it. If you missed our show this Sunday, we were over at Ryan's Hanover Crossing. We spoke to Scott Hutchison, the Hanover Athletic Director, and JJ Nyamke, the Norwell Athletic Director. You can find that on 959watd.com, as well as our full discussion of Final Four weekend, state title weekend, and Thanksgiving Day games as well. So a really good show this past week, and another big thank you to Ryan's family for having us. But let's get into it, guys. Brendan, you're going to pick first in every round. Johnny will be second, and I will be third. The eligibility for this week. So we did this last year. I think it's something that I don't know. I'd like to stand by. Only seniors are going to be eligible this week. So no underclassmen available on the board. And just because we have so many teams at Severian or at Gillette, including Severian, Duxbury, Marshfield, Hanover, Carver, Scituate, and Milton, those teams are going to be off limits for this round. They're going to be back on the board next week anyways. So it'll be just players from non-Super Bowl teams and just seniors. So plenty of talent even still. And with that, I'll give it to you, Brendan, to get us kicked off here.
Well, I'm going to go running back here first. I believe this is his last game with Plymouth South, correct? Cassius Johnson here, one of the best running backs in the state over the last couple of seasons. He's had his fair share of injuries, but he's back, and I think he's going to try and go out with one last 200-yard game.
Yeah, this was, in thinking ahead to this draft, I thought this was a pretty clear number one overall. It's been a tough season for Cassius, just dealing with injuries and whatnot. I'm sure he'd be the first to say that, not necessarily how he wanted it to go. But he's still been really solid for Plymouth South, and I think it's, as much as anything, a tip of the cap to one of the really great careers that we have ever seen. All-time leading rusher in Plymouth history, not just Plymouth South, and Plymouth school history, and really one of the great talents to come through the South Shore in a while. So Cassius Johnson, number one overall off the board. I think a fitting pick there, Brendan. And that turns it to you, Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting draft because there's just so many kids that you want to, kind of spotlight on their way out. A lot of good players, so this will be their last game. I'm gonna go with another guy that, you had circled early in the season and it just didn't really pan out, due to a little bit to just how the team was. But I'm gonna go Cam Montero from Brockton. I think he looks to go out on top in Thanksgiving and, really kind of show out. He was just the kind of kid, he had some big plays over the course of the season, just, definitely not the full season he was looking for, but still a tremendous player.
And I think a very similar thing, that's kind of where my head was at as well. So I think the two guys, 1 and 2 off the board, that, just victim of circumstances this year, but still incredible careers and incredibly bright futures ahead of them. So yeah, again, I think a great 1-2 off the board there as well. With the third pick, I'm going to go to a guy who was very close to being off limits this week, but unfortunately is available. And I'm going to go with Liam Appleton from Cohasset. Liam is one of the area's best. I would be shocked if he wasn't a semifinalist for the Bill Wilhelm Award when those get announced in a date TBD, but coming up pretty soon. He had such a fantastic season and career with Cohasset, and he really is something special. So yeah, give me Liam Appleton. All right, back to you, Brendan.
I think I'm going to go quarterback here. I'm going to go with James Harris out of West Bridgewater. Should be a good game against Eastie, and I think that they're going to have their hands full. He's going to have to put up some big numbers.
Run first quarterback, or not? Yeah, run first. I mean, not exclusively a guy who has shown the ability to throw it this year. but is exceptionally talented and gets you a lot of points in that way. So yeah, I think a really good pick for you, Brendan. And West Bridgewater, another team that they fell. They fell first to Amesbury, and then it was Cohasset who went down. They both end up in the wake of the state finalist at D7, but a great season nonetheless for Coach Cogler's team and for James Harris, certainly. All right, Johnny.
Yeah, I'm going to go my second wide receiver off the board. This is a team that I think we had high hopes for, just kind of didn't pan out. I'm going to go to the Pembroke game. I'm going to go Will McNamara from Pembroke. It just wasn't their year for Pembroke, but I think they're going to look to finish on a high note against a good Silver Lake team, so that should be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely, it should be. Biggest, I think, what if of any team on the South Shore. They had so many injuries this year, and it's just so much talent on that group. And I mean, when you think, early in the season, 2 second half comebacks where we talked to them about it. It was just a kind of ran out of gas type situation. They had kids who were JV kids that were being thrust into starting roles on the varsity side of things. Just a tough year for them, but a chance, as you said, Johnny, to kind of finish on a really high note. And I'm sure Will McNamara will be looking to do that. All right, that brings it to me. So Johnny quickly closing out his wide receiver room. I'm gonna hold there, and I'm gonna go over to the quarterback room, I think, and I'm gonna go with Jordan DePina from Rockland, and another guy that is very much a dual threat guy and gets a lot done in the running game. And my reasoning here, part of why I love Jordan so much as a player, is that throughout the course of the year, they are going into the year, I should say, nobody really expected much from Rockland. They had really an incredible class graduate from last year that won the Super Bowl as juniors and then had a good run that got cut short of the Super Bowl last year, but a supremely talented bunch. And then come back this year and working in so many new starters and having Jordan DePina step in at quarterback and be as good as he was. I think that he put them on the map this year. They had another great season. The program's been in a good spot for a while under Coach LaCorey, and Jordan kind of coming not out of nowhere, but to think that level of talent was hidden behind how many stars they had last year. It just took him getting the opportunity to show out, and he did just that this year. So thrilled to have Jordan on the board. Round 3, Brendan.
I think I'm going to go receiver here. I'm going to go to the North Quincy match. I'm going to go with Cam Sampson out of North Quincy. I think this is the game where North Quincy could put up some points in the passing game, and he's going to be the catalyst, or at least one of them in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. He had a fantastic season over there. I think that's one of the, under the radar, really, really fun Thanksgiving matchups. I think it's 91 or 92 this year. They've been doing it a long time, and he had, if I'm not mistaken, he had the walk-off last year in that game. I'd have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure he had a walk-off touchdown in that game. So he's ready to go on Turkey Day. He's going to shine under the bright lights, or on the bright light of the morning sun, that is. All right, Cam Sampson off the board. Johnny.
I'm going to go running back here. I'm going to go Will St. Pierre from Hingham. I just think this one is more of a matchup for me. I think, it'll be interesting to see what Scituate does with their starters. Obviously, they have a big game with Duxbury looming. So I think, Hingham is a team, and, I guess this is kind of the route I'm going with this draft of, teams that are looking to finish on a high note, who have, not necessarily had a great season, but still have a lot to be proud of. And I think Will St. Pierre will lead them on Thursday.
I think he's been a great leader for them. I think he's been a great player for them, obviously, but, coming off a year where he was out for a lot of it in his junior season with an injury, and then coming back this year, he was really motivated to play a big role for them, and he did. And I think that's a team that saw so much growth as the season wore on under head coach TJ Byrne, and to get to the playoffs after really what looked like a dark start to the season, super impressive. They got it turned on. They played good football, and Will St. Pierre and his leadership and talent, a big reason why. So great pick, Johnny. All right, I am going to go to the running back room here. I'll go back to the running back room, close out my board there, and I'm going to go. I'm going to go with the other Plymouth South running back. I'm going to go with Justin LaChance, who I think has had such an incredible under the radar career there. He was in that defensive backfield with the Davis twins and Jamie Andrews last year. He was, didn't get as much run on offense last year. I feel like he was more of a gadget player for them, but every few weeks you'd see him in the box score having some huge touchdown, whether it be a kick return or, just breaking off a run or whatever. And you come into this year and all the eyes are on Cassius Johnson. You're a team that lost a ton of senior leadership, and Justin kind of stepped in and was huge for Plymouth South on both sides of the ball. And that's a team that, was this close to knocking off Bill Ricca in a year where it didn't really feel like they were poised to do a whole heck of a lot in the playoffs. I think he was a sensational senior leader for them, big piece of the ground game, really calming presence on defense, and just a supreme talent. So thrilled to get him on my board. All right, round 4.
All right. I think I'm going to go running back again here. And I'm going to go back to the Quincy-North Quincy matchup, and I'm going to base this pick strictly on volume. Gabe Rodriguez out of Quincy. He always gets at least 15 to 20 carries a game. It feels like they rely so much on him for their offensive output. He's bound to find the end zone if they get close. Give me Gabe.
Yeah, another one of those guys. He's been a pleasure to watch. I think he's probably one of the really true under the radar talents on the South Shore. They just haven't made a lot of big time noise while he's been there, but he's an absolute freak. He's a house, and he's a lot of fun to watch. And I think it's been a joy watching Gabe, and we had him in studio last year, I remember, and he was one of my favorite people that we've had the chance to interview, just full of life and full of hell and a lot of fun. So I think great to get him on the board. All right, Johnny.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I mean, they're not. I'm gonna go AJ Nash. I just think this is a huge game for them, just to send Coach Kell on his way and kind of into the sun, as a winner, which he has been. He's made that program over those so many years, and I think they're going to be looking to just make a statement after a very disappointing loss in the first round of the playoffs. So I'm going to go AJ Nash.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, how to get somebody from the Green Wave on the board? This is, they've played in so many big games under Jim Kelleher's tenure, and I'm sure he would tell you this isn't one of them. But I think for anybody who has ever put on a Green Wave jersey and thrown any piece of GWP apparel on, like, this is a huge game. It does. I mean, he is a South Shore institution, and so I think AJ Nash will be motivated to show out for Coach and send him into the horizon. So good stuff, Johnny. All right, I'm going to go to the receiver room as well, and I am going to go with Ryan Lucarelli from Norwell. I think they, couple of breaks in that game against Fairhaven that we were on hand for, and I think that the story in Division 6 is just vastly different. And it just didn't quite bounce their way. A couple of really tough calls and whatnot against them, but Ryan's been sensational this year for them, and he was spectacular in that game. I know another Norwell receiver had the touchdown catch there, but he was really, really excellent. And I think a cool moment with his younger brother playing quarterback, and I'm sure Colin McCarthy will get some run in that game for them as well. But he's going to be catching some balls on Thanksgiving from his younger brother, and I think that's as good a family moment as there is. So, give me the hallmark hookup, if you will, on Thanksgiving. All right, Brendan, round 5.
I believe I still have to take a receiver, so I'm going to go with Taron Williams out of Rockland. I feel like he's going to have a big game. You mentioned it, Jordan DePina, dual threat, and this is one of his favorite targets to go to. I feel like Rockland is going to be trying to put a stamp on what was a great start to a good season, and they'll want to finish it off strong.
Yeah, no question about it. And Taron's had such a great season. He has been really a strong number 2 for them. With Jordan, it feels like every week, and Joe Arner's had a couple of really great games for them as well. But the 3 of them have showed out, and Taron's been a great leader there as well. I just got a ton of respect for that Rockland team playing as well as they did this year, and mixing it up in the in the South Shore League. It's been great to watch. All right, Johnny, in need of a quarterback and a defense.
Yeah, I'm going to go. Hold on, let me get over the old phone charger here. This is chaos. Did not realize this was an interview. I'm going to go quarterback. I'm going to go Luke Dunham from Hull. And that's a team, you kind of expected a downturn after their historic season last year, but, they've been able to weather the storm, and I think Luke has played well. But they're going to have a tough matchup with Cohasset, but I think it's one that, he's going to have to play well for them to win. Both teams are going to be motivated, so I think it'll be a good one.
Yeah. I mean, and hat tip to Luke, and let me just confirm, I'm second guessing myself all over the place. I believe he's a senior.
If he's not, I can't be held accountable. It's green on the
no,
sheet.
you can't be. All right, let's just.
I've got one in the chamber too.
Go to the one in the chamber. That's my fault. Luke is a junior. That was a miss highlight on my part.
Chaos. Okay. Then on that note, I am going to go. Who's Brennan's quarterback?
Brennan has James Harris.
Okay. I'm gonna. You know what? I picked him before in the playoffs, but I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna go Seamus Whiting, Plymouth North. I mean, he's a dog. He is extremely talented. You saw him put up great numbers against Marshfield, the team that has, defensively stood up to the best of them here in this playoffs. So, I'm gonna go with him, and I think he's, like I said, he's a fantastic player. So he's gonna look to step up and have a great game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, glad he's on the board. I think he's.
Do I get extra points if Luke plays well? I feel like I get his points no matter.
Luke, we'll set an over under, and if Luke hits it, that'll be the tiebreaker.
He's your bench piece that we can sub in.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, Seamus is awesome. It's been a lot of fun to watch him a couple times this season, and that game against Marshfield, boy, he played so well. I mean, as good a quarterback performance as we saw this season. And so I think great to get him on the board here in a big rivalry game. He clearly shines when the lights are brightest. So good stuff. And that'll bring me to close out my wide receiver room. And I had one. Who am I going with? I am going to go Gavin McLeod. So a shout out to the McLeod clan because I met Gavin's father at our game when we did East Bridgewater in Middleborough earlier this year. He said he loves the draft, but we had picked Gavin a couple times at the end of the season after he was out injured, and he said, I wanted to find a way to get in touch with you guys to be like, don't pick him, he's hurt, but couldn't do it. Well, he was back this year. He's part of an EB team that, left a little bit on the table, but can really, can score and plays great offensively. Had a fun shootout with West Bridgewater at the beginning of the season. And Gavin, just because that made me smile. I hope his dad's out there listening. I'm going with Gavin McLeod here to close out my wide receiver room. All right, we all need defenses heading into the final round. So, Brendan, kick off this run on that side of the ball.
Going to go to the tough matchup for Hull. As Johnny mentioned, I'm going to go with Cohasset this week. I think the Skippers could go one of two ways. They could either pack it in and, just wallow in the loss that they just took last week, or they could come back and cap their season off with a bang. I have the sense that Peter Fanasiv is going to have them going towards the latter.
Yeah, I would agree. I think they got a lot to show in this game. Yeah, and not that there's reason to wallow, but it's not like you've got a sophomore too at quarterback. I know it's obviously we're not you're picking the defense, but I think they're going to be motivated to play well, and it's not like oh, my senior season came to end with a bad loss. I think the seniors are going to want to show out, want to end on a high note rather than a tough defeat at the hands of Amesbury. And I think you've got a young group outside of that that's going to just kind of put their head down and go to work. So I think good pick, Brendan. All right, Johnny, your defense.
Yeah, give me the Green Wave.
You're going to have to say that one again.
For a lot of reasons that, I mentioned. Give me the Green Wave.
All right, I like Abington defense.
Does that come through at all?
Yep, yeah, I got you now.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Give me the Green Wave for a lot of reasons that I said, when I picked AJ Nash earlier. I think they're going to be looking to win this game 50-0, and I think they're going to come out flying.
I think so too. I think they are going to come out flying. But you know what? They got a really tough opponent on the other side of things. And I would be remiss if I don't think they're anywhere on the board. So I'm gonna go with a team that's gonna be trying to weather that emotional storm for my defense. And I'm gonna go with the Whitman-Hanson Panthers, trying to play big time spoiler here on an intensely emotional game for Abington. I want Whitman-Hanson's defense. They've been good this year, and give me one more chance to get the Panthers on the board. So that rounds it out. That is our Week 12 Thanksgiving week WATD fantasy draft. I'll run them through for you. Brendan, James Harris out of West Bridgewater, your quarterback. Cassius Johnson out of Plymouth South. And Gabe Rodriguez out of Quincy, your two running backs. And then your wide receivers are Cam Sampson out of North Quincy and Taryn Williams out of Rockland with the Cohasset defense. Johnny Seamus Whiting out of Plymouth North, your quarterback. Your running backs are Will St. Pierre out of Hingham and AJ Nash out of Abington. Your wide receivers are Cam Montero out of Brockton, Will McNamara out of Pembroke, and you have the Abington D. And then for me, Jordan DePina, my quarterback out of Rockland, Liam Appleton out of Cohasset, and Justin LaChance out of Plymouth South. My running backs, my wide receivers, Ryan Lucarelli and Gavin McLeod out of Norwell and East Bridgewater, respectively. And then, as I just said, the Whitman-Hanson defense. All right, we got some really exciting stuff coming up here. We are winding down towards the end of the season and are thrilled to be finishing strong. We'll see you live from Marshfield. Live from Duxbury for Marshfield versus Duxbury, our traditional Thanksgiving Day game. Should be a blast. Looking forward to that one. And stay tuned because we may have an announcement about a fun second broadcast that will be going on. And then we're going to be getting after it with 5 Super Bowl broadcasts officially, all on WATD. We're going to have on Wednesday at 5:30 the Carver game, and then double billings on Thursday and Friday, 5:30 and 8, 5:30 and 8. South Shore doing well to avoid the 3 o'clock afternoon slot. We'll have the Marshfield game, the Duxbury Situate game, the Milton game, and the Hanover game, not in those orders. Whatever order they are, we have all 5 of those South Shore games all on 95.9 WATD, and thrilled to be getting to do them all from Gillette. So it's going to be a really fun week. All right, that'll wrap it for us here. For Brendan, for Johnny, I'm Quinn. Look out for that announcement about Thanksgiving, and always stay tuned on Twitter at SE on WATD for all the latest announcements. And we'll see you next time on the WATD Fantasy Draft.